The reason why affirmations don't work is because they're not getting to the root of the problem. If you have a negative internal dialogue and are constantly thinking to yourself that you're not good enough, not smart enough, not attractive enough, not whatever enough, then simply telling yourself the opposite of that is not going to fix the problem. What will fix the problem is first identifying why you feel that way about yourself to begin with. Usually, the reason why we believe many of our deepest core beliefs that are the hardest for us to change are because those beliefs were passed down to us from our key caregivers in childhood. Now, this doesn't mean that our mother or our father or whoever it was that raised us literally sat us down in childhood and told us that we had to believe that we're not enough. That could have happened, of course, in a very abusive situation, but typically the way that our beliefs are passed down to us is way more subtle than that. What typically happens is we internalize the voice of our key caregivers and then mistake their beliefs as our own. So if the person who raised us, for example, didn't feel capable of making their own dreams a reality, then they may have criticized us every time we tried something new and pointed out to us what could go wrong because they may have thought that they were protecting us from disappointment. Then what happens is, after we've heard this criticism enough times, we internalize this belief as though it was our own all along. So now, whenever we want to try something new, instead of waiting for someone else to criticize us, we automatically criticize ourselves and point out to ourselves all the ways that we think we don't measure up, because this is what we've been taught to do. You see, as children, the reason we do this is because the world is new to us. So we have to rely on the adults around us for guidance. Otherwise, we literally might not survive. Think about it. If a child is in a very bad situation, they can't just get up and leave and go take care of themselves. They have to rely on the adults around them to take care of them, even if those adults are actually messed up and are harming the child more than they're helping the child. The reality is that the child is incapable of realizing in childhood that the adults around them are incorrect. So they take everything that the adult says at face value and assume that it must be true. This includes all the negative beliefs that that adult has as well. So flash forward to when that child grows up and begins to pay attention to the way that they speak to themselves in their heads and to the beliefs that they hold about themselves and about the world. What that new adult will find is that the same way they speak to themselves is the same way that their caretakers spoke to them in childhood. So when their internal dialogue is negative, changing it is not as simple as just repeating positive affirmations over and over and over again. Instead, what needs to be done in adulthood is we need to identify who in our lives that specific negative belief comes from and literally make a list. It won't all just be from one person. There will likely be several people whose beliefs you internalized that you now need to bring out into the light. Once you've identified who that belief comes from, ask yourself if the mature adult version of yourself who knows everything that you know now still wants to continue believing that belief or not. If the answer is that you don't want to continue believing whatever that belief was, then figure out specifically what it is that you want to believe instead. And every time you hear that original negative belief that you want to get rid of pop up in your head, intentionally release it and replace it with the healthier belief that you now want to adopt. So for example, if in this process you uncover that one of the negative beliefs that you hold is that you're not good with money because your Uncle Bob always told you that you weren't good with money, then whenever that thought pops up in your head, intentionally say to yourself, this is Uncle Bob's belief that I'm not good with money. He had his own reasons for being afraid of money, and I don't need to carry his fear about money with me anymore because it's not true. What is true is that I am good with money. And here are the following examples that I can list for myself of instances in which I've been very good with money. So thank you, Uncle Bob, for trying to protect me with this belief, but it's no longer needed. Now, this may seem like a long process to do for every single negative belief that you have, but the truth is that it works. And after a while, when you go through this process over and over again, it becomes automatic, and you no longer need to go through the whole speech with yourself every time. Instead, after a few times of going through this speech with yourself in your head, when you see a negative belief popping up in your head, you just begin to say, there's Uncle Bob's belief again. That belief is no longer true for me. What is true for me is this healthier belief. Now, imagine what happens when you do this process for several negative beliefs. It can literally change your whole life and set you on a path to actually healing many of your deepest wounds. So don't be intimidated by this process. When you get the hang of it, it becomes like second nature and allows you to actually take charge of your life instead of always just reacting to it. So try it out and let me know how it goes in the comments. I'm curious what beliefs you've been able to uncover for yourself and what you think the stickiest part of getting rid of those negative beliefs has been for you. Let me know down below. Also, when you get a chance, check out my YouTube channel for more tips on how to build better relationships. Thanks again.